How does an alibi create reasonable doubt in criminal defense? Imagine a courtroom where every piece of evidence is a puzzle piece. Now picture an alibi as a clear piece that doesn't fit the prosecution's picture. An alibi shows the defendant was somewhere else when the crime happened. This makes it impossible for them to have committed the crime. It directly challenges the idea that the defendant was at the scene. An alibi is supported by evidence like witnesses, surveillance videos, receipts, phone records, or GPS data. These prove the defendant was in a different location from the crime scene. If a witness testifies they saw the defendant at a different place, it's a strong piece of evidence. Receipts from a store or digital records from a phone can also confirm where someone was at a specific time. The key point is that an alibi doesn't have to be proven beyond all doubt. It just needs to raise enough doubt that a jury can't be sure the defendant was at the scene. This is because in criminal law, the burden is on the prosecution to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense only needs to show that there is a real possibility the defendant was not involved. When a defendant presents an alibi, it shifts the focus back to the prosecution. It questions their timeline and their version of events. If the jury believes the alibi, they must find the defendant not guilty. The defense's job is to make the jury doubt the prosecution's case. If the alibi is credible, it creates a logical gap in the story that the prosecution cannot fill. Practically, an alibi involves three main points. First, showing the defendant was somewhere else when the crime happened. Second, proving there was no reasonable way for the defendant to have committed the crime. And third, confirming there was no other way for the defendant to be involved. Most often, alibis are supported by witnesses who saw the defendant at a different place. Sometimes, physical evidence like receipts or digital records can also confirm the defendant's location. It's important to note that the defendant does not have to testify personally to establish an alibi. Other witnesses can provide this information without risking their right to remain silent. Because an alibi directly contradicts the prosecution's timeline, it creates a gap in their case. This gap is what forms the basis of reasonable doubt. When the jury can't be sure beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant was at the scene, they must acquit. In the end, an alibi is a powerful tool in criminal defense. It shows the defendant was not at the scene of the crime, which can prevent wrongful convictions. It's all about proving the defendant's absence and making the jury question the prosecution's story. That's how an alibi helps create reasonable doubt and protect the innocent.